Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Today, our topic is about the thermoregulation concept. After this class, students are able to understand and explain the basic concept of thermoregulation system and how about a nursing care of client with thermoregulation system disturbance. Okay. Thermoregulation is a psychological regulator of the human body regarding the balance of heat production and heat loss so that body temperature can be maintained constant. Body temperature balance regulated by physiological and behavioral mechanisms to keep body temperature constant and within normal limits. The relationship between production heat and heat loss must be maintained. Yeah. So process that balance heat production and heat loss, that name thermoregulation, is maintain a relative constant to our core temperature. Yeah. So heat produced equal with heat loss. Yeah, that's thermoregulation, normal thermoregulation. And some factor affecting heat production, there are basal metabolic rate or BMR, muscle activity, and there are factor thyroxine output, epinephrine or norepinephrine, and then the last is fever. Yeah, in the basal metabolic rate or BMR, if we have higher the BMR, so the heat is produced increase. And for the muscle activity, if we do more activity in a day, so the body heat will increase or higher. And about the thyroxine output, the more the hormone thyroxine is produced, the body temperature will also increase. Yeah, because of chemical thermogenesis. Same with the epinephrine or norepinephrine. Yeah, the more the hormone epinephrine or norepinephrine produced, the body temperature will also increase. In the fever condition, body temperature will increase when we have or we got a fever. The next is about psychology review. Sensor thermoregulation. There are in a cell and core. Skin has more receptor for cold than warm, and skin chill make the response or mechanism with this skin chill is shivering, sweating, and vasoconstriction. And the hypothalamus is the control in our brains control core temperature. This hypothalamus have a sensor that detect heat, and they have a cold sensor stimulated. And there are effector system. Jadi ini saling bekerja sama ya. Ada hipotalamus, kemudian ada sistem efektornya dan sensor-sensor yang ada di tubuh. Ya, sensor-sensor suhu terutama. This is the hypothalamus regulation of the temperature. We know that hypothalamus is the thermostat that regulate our body temperature. Yeah. So hypothalamus acts as thermostat that makes thermoregulatory adjustment to deviation from temperature norm in the brain. Yeah. We know that this is the range of the our body temperature. This is the normal range. Yeah, the 36 to the upper limit is at 38 degrees Celsius. Yeah, this is the normal range of body temperature. If more than 38, that is called hypothermia, and if our body temperature below than 36 degrees Celsius, so it's names hypothermia. This is an hypothalamus regulation of the temperature. The mechanisms are activated in two ways, where thermoreceptor in our skin provide input to central command, and there was direct stimulation of hypothalamus drug chains in a blood temperature producing area. The hypothalamus, which is located between the cerebral hemispheres, controls our body temperature. A comfortable temperature is when the heat system is operating. Hypothalamus sensing slight change in body temperature, and the anterior hypothalamus control heat loss, and the posterior hypothalamus control heat production. When cells the nerves in the anterior hypothalamus become hot beyond the set point, then the impulse will be sent to lower body temperature. Mechanism of heat loss include sweating. Maybe we will feel sweat, have more sweat or sweating, and our blood vessel in vasodilatation period or dilatation, and inhibit of heat production. Blood distribute return to the surface vein to increase heat dissipation. If the posterior hypothalamus senses that the body temperature is lower than the set point, then heat conservation mechanism works. Vasoconstriction of blood vessel reduce blood flow to the skin and extremities. Production compensation heat is stimulated through the voluntary muscle contraction and vibration or shivering muscle. When vasoconstriction is not effective in preventing additional expenditure heat, the body begins to shiver. Lesion or trauma to the hypothalamus or chordae spinal cord that carries message from the hypothalamus can cause change that's serious about temperature control. Now we will go into the thermoregulation in cold. In thermoregulation, response our body temperature in cold is there are vascular adjustments in our blood pressure will constrict peripheral. Our peripheral blood vessel will be constrict, in constrict phase. And in our muscular activity that exercise energy metabolism and shivering. When we feel cold, so exercise energy metabolism and shivering will be akan digunakan gitu ya untuk sebagai respon terhadap dingin. And for the hormonal output, their epinephrine and norepinephrine will increase. Yeah, increase the basal heat production. And hormone called diatur oleh thyroxine hormone. This is our body temperature thermoregulation in heat. Yeah, heat content in our body. Heat production come from BMR, body mass basal metabolic rate, and then they will come from muscular activity. Yeah, our activity is will produce heat in our body. Hormone like hormone thyroxine, like norepinephrine, yeah. And dietary induced thermogenesis and postural change or environment. And heat can lose because of the process called radiation, conduction, convection, and evaporation. Yeah. We will check next. Yeah, this is the heat loss, thermal exhaustion in heat. And there are 4 mechanisms of heat loss. There are, I said before that there are radiation, conduction, convection, and evaporation. The first is heat loss by radiation. It's approximately 10% mengambil kehilangan panasnya sekitar 10% mengambil perannya itu ya. The object emits electromagnetic heat waves without muscular contact with warmer object. When temperature of things in environment exceed the skin temperature, radiant heat energy is absorbed from the surrounding. So the radiation process is happen between our skin, and in our environment. That's called radiation. And the second mechanism heat loss by the conduction. Conduction is a direct transfer from body to object without movement. Direct transfer from body to object without movement. Direct transfer of heat through a liquid, solid, or gas from one molecule to another. A small amount of body heat moves by conduction directly through deep tissues to cooler surface. Heat loss involves the warming of air molecule and cooler surface in contact with the skin. The rate of conductive heat loss depends on thermal gradient. For example, compress. Compress is contoh dari conduction process. The third mechanism heat loss is by convection. Approximately with conduction is 35%. Convection is effectiveness depend on how rapidly the air or water adjacent to the body is exchanged. Air current at 4 mph are about twice as effective for cooling air current at 1 mph. The convection happens through circulation, such as a fan. If we use a fan, it is a convection process. And the last is heat loss mechanism by evaporation. It's approximately 55%. And heat transferred as water is vaporized from respiratory phase and skin surface. That's the example of the evaporation process. And for each liter of water vaporized, 580 kcal transferred to the environment. When sweat come in contact with the skin, a cooling effect occurs as sweat evaporates. The cool skin serves to cool the blood. Next is genetic lifespan consideration. And there are tiga golongan Tiga golongan that must we consider. The first is infant. Infant is in hemothermic, and they have thin epidermis. And so with thin epidermis, they will more risk untuk terpapar suhu eksternal Jadi dengan kulit yang tipis dia sangat-sangat berisiko untuk terpapar udara dingin di luar. And then they have a blood vessel that closer to their skin, and they have a neutral thermal environment. In a children group, this is more variable than adults, and if they have fever or high temperature, we must handle high temperature as well as we can, because there are big risks if children have fever that kita tidak waspadai gitu ya. mendapatkan demam atau suhu yang tinggi, kita tidak segera mungkin untuk menghandle-nya atau menanganinya, maka ada risiko besar hipotermia itu. And the last group is older adult. This adult have decreased thermoregulatory control because their age, and they have reached for hypothermia. And this group have sensitive to extreme environmental temperature, especially in cool temperature. And this is the alteration of thermoregulation. There are heat exhaustion, heat stroke. Yeah, they called heat stroke or hypothermia or frostbite. Yeah. In heat exhaustion is an increase in body temperature in response to environmental condition that in turn cause diaphoresis. The characteristic is loss of excessive amount of water and sodium from breastfeeding leads to thirst, nausea, vomiting, weakness, and disorientation. In heat stroke, a critical increase in body temperature resulting from exposure to high environmental temperature. The characteristic is dry, hot skin in the most important sign, and the person becomes confused or delirious and experiences thirst, abdominal distress, muscle cramp, and visual disturbance. Loss of consciousness occur in untreated. In hypothermia, the body temperature of 35 degrees Celsius or lower, resulting from cold weather or exposure or artificial induction. The characteristic is decrease in metabolism leads to impaired mental functioning and depressed pulse, respiration, and blood pressure. It can result in cardiac arrest if untreated. And the last alteration is frostbite. Frostbite is a freezing of the body surface area, maybe in our loops, our finger or our toe, yeah, in extremely low temperature. The characteristic is circulatory impairment may be followed by gangrene. Okay. This is the concept related to thermoregulation. Maybe there are fluid and electrolyte imbalance happen and will acute and chronic pain and prevention of infection. There are state of inflammation and there are growth and development throughout the lifespan. The genetic consideration, we must consider that period fever syndrome and about malignant hypothermia. This is potentially fatal inherited disorder and makes serious reaction to volatile inhalation or anesthetic gas and cynicolin. And there are modifiers factors such as hypothermia. The intervention at about 30 degrees Celsius outside, like wearing cloth, sunscreen, food intake, and time to acclimate, and medication predisposing to heat sensitivity. In hypothermia, reduce ingestion of alcohol and other drugs, and hypoglycemia in people with diabetes. And there are screening of hypothermia. There are malignant hypothermia. We must do a genetic testing and muscle biopsy. And for the hypothermia, the screening is due in the neonate and older adult. And the multi-system disorders such as other exposure, drugs, trauma, alcohol, drug abuse, endocrine disorder, or neurological impairment, or dermatological disorder. Okay, we're going to the nursing assessment. The nursing assessment that we are doing in the patients, we must diukur the temperature. The site for measurement in oral or rectal or axilla or tympanic membrane or forehead. This is the shape for temperature measurement. You can choose one side for the temperature measurement. And for the independent intervention is maintain thermoregulatory mechanism such as the environmental. The other adult and young infant need warmer environment. Yes, you must make sure that the environment is warm. Yeah, infant and children should wear hats because they have a risk for the hypothermia. And they must have adequate hydration. For the collaborative intervention, there are pre-hospital care, that perawatan yang bisa dilakukan di rumah ya, sebelum dibawa ke rumah sakit gitu ya. And then emergency department, you can go to emergency department care and inpatient care to pediatric, geriatric, or the other designated care setting. And then you must do admission to an intensive care unit or outpatient and follow-up care and give the antipyretic. Okay, now we are going to the thermoregulation alterations called hypothermia, or it's common called pyrexia or fever. Yeah. Okay. There were four type of fever. They called intermittent fever, remittent fever, relapsing fever, constant fever, or fever spike. Intermittent fever is body temperature shows a regular interval between period of fever and period of normal or subnormal temperature. In remittent fever, fluctuating temperature of more than 2 degrees Celsius occur more than 24 hours, but above normal. The relapse fever is short febrile period of several days interspersed with a normal temperature of half day. In constant fever, body temperature fluctuates minimally but is always above normal. Yeah. There were a mechanism of the hyperthermia. Antigen, antigen dari luar gitu ya. Antigen seperti virus or bakteri come into the body, and the body response is make an antibody, and that antibody will activate interleukin 1 or pyrogen endogen or pyrogen leukocyte. The interleukin 1, pyrogen endogen, or pyrogen leukocyte will go to our circulation blood vessel, and then through to the hypothalamus, ya, kemudian masuk sirkulasi darah, kemudian menuju hypothalamus. Ya, di hypothalamus kita tahu bahwa we know that hypothalamus is the center of control of our body temperature. In hypothalamus dia akan mengaktifkan yang namanya prostaglandin E2, ya. Mengaktifkan prostaglandin E2 sehingga di sini yang meningkatkan responnya, ada the respon is heat production, heat increase. So it's called hyperthermia. And then the pathophysiology and etiology, there are malignant hyperthermia. It is frequently inherited reaction to inhaled anesthetic, and client sign and symptom unchecked, reaction progress, and then tolerant sodium provenade, Testing is available and can develop through surgery or PACU. And for early symptom of malignant hyperthermia is immediately administer 100 oxygen with non-rebreather mask. You must stay with client and ensure good IV access. Summon anesthesia provider and employ measures to decrease core body temperature. The etiology for the etiology of hyperthermia is might occur in response to infection. When we have infection such as a viral infection or a bacterial infection, so our body response is hyperthermia. And hyperthermia etiology may occur in response to tissue breakdown such as myocardial infarct, following myocardial infarct, malignancy, surgery, or trauma. The risk factor of hypothermia is diminished immune response, the increase of infection, and children in daycare. Do you think that why children in daycare have risks for the hypothermia? Why? Because you know that children have a higher risk factor that to get punya risiko tinggi untuk ini ya terjadi gangguan suhu tubuh karena dia masuk tadi golongan yang perlu kita ini ya dia termasuk golongan yang termasuk risiko untuk gangguan suhu tubuh. Tadi kan ada orang tua, anak-anak gitu ya. Nah pada anak-anak children in daycare mereka itu berinteraksi dengan anak yang lain. Mereka dikumpulkan dalam satu tempat ya. Nah, di situ punya risiko tinggi untuk saling menulari gitu ya. Saling bertukar infeksi, mungkin yang satu sakit menulari anak yang sehat gitu ya. Sehingga yang satu yang sehat menjadi sakit. That's a risk factor of infection source. And the prevention for the hyperthermia, you must ukur the vital sign only one pitch of necessary data. You must monitor the vital sign and measure vital sign at regular interval, and you can create a graph data to become aware of pattern trend in temperature over time. Okay, the next, the clinical manifestation of hyperthermia is there are sign and symptom. Kamu akan melihat mungkin ada flushing or skin warm, and you feel hot when you touch the patient. Increase metabolic rate. They will fatigue, malaise, weakness, or decrease responsive, or difficulty concentration, or you bisa lihat ada rash atau tidak di kulitnya gitu ya. How about the appetite? They have poor appetite or not? They have vomiting or not? Or maybe diarrhea and the body aches. And the other critical manifestation is treatment not always indicated. Not inherently harmful until 41 degrees Celsius. You can give acetaminophen or ibuprofen in the collaboration. Preferred antibiotic for children. Antibiotic will be given by the administrator for the infection disease. Maybe decrease mobility. This administer will decrease morbidity, mortality from infection, and this resist strain of bacteria. And but the span and cultural consideration, the febrile seizure is general seizure usually happen in children and result of rapid temperature rise, associated with the acute illness and children between 6 months and 5 years. Ya, jadi untuk hipotermia itu sering sekali resikonya kalau pada kelompok anak itu adalah kejang demam ya. Ini yang paling sering. Jadi ketika anak hipertermia atau suhunya lebih dari normal, we must waspada gitu. Kita harus waspada gitu ya. Jadi ketika sudah ada riwayat dulu punya kejang, maka di sini nanti bisa ini ya, bisa dicegah dengan memberikan obat antipiretik dulu. Jadi tidak menunggu suhunya sangat tinggi dulu baru diberikan obat antipiretik gitu ya. Ketika sudah nanti tinggi sekali baru diberikan antibiotik, nanti dia sudah keburu kejang. Ya. Kemudian Weber and Coulter, hot and cold theory. And for collaboration, revolves around underlying cause. Child with history of fibrosis nurse from pediatrician of office collaborate with parents, classroom teacher, and ensure staff know what to do in event seizures and give an adequate hydration. In the nursing assessment, you must control or monitor the hydration status and fluid intake. You must measure and monitor the vital sign and how about the comfort level, how about the appetite, and observe for seizure or toxic appearance. They must feel irritability, restlessness, or fitful sleep, and non-specific muscular pain. And the other assessment that you must do is identify high-risk clients, such as the risk group, such as in infant and children with toxic appearance, or neonate under 28 days with temperature more than 38 degrees Celsius, and children under 5 years with temperature more than 41 degrees Celsius. And the children with the other condition are a patient with immunosuppressed client, such as HIV or AIDS, and the other chronic condition. And observe for the other sign of infection. There are nursing diagnosis that we can yang bisa ditegakkan ya pada kasus hypothermia is hypothermia, and there are risk for deficient food volume, there are impaired skin integrity, impaired oral mucous membrane, and the last is deficient food volume. This is the nursing diagnosis patient with the hypothermia. And for the planning, you must care is planned for the client with hypothermia based on the specific needs of the client and the cause of the temperature elevation. The client temperature will approach normal limit within 60 minutes of administration of an antipyretic. The client's temperature will remain within normal limits within 48 to 72 hours of beginning antibiotic therapy. And the client's temperature will be maintained with acceptable limits within 4 hours of application of a hypothermia blanket. The client or caregiver will describe temperature elevation to be reported to the healthcare provider immediately. The client or caregiver will recognize symptoms requiring consultation with the healthcare provider. For the implementation, nursing implementation, you must support by this normal physiology process. You must provide comfort and prevent complication. You must waspada pas ada fase dingin menggigil gitu ya. This is a sign of decreased heat loss. And you must observe loss of physical space. This is increased heat loss. And you must perhatikan juga terkait developmental consideration-nya. And for the other implementation, maybe you must do the antipyretic, maybe antipyretic according to order or a collaboration with the doctor. And for the provide the oral hygiene to keep the lip mucus moist and heat, because heat can cause dry and cracked lips due to lack of fluids. And you can provide and give a warm compress, to help reduce heat throughout the conduction process. And the last, maybe you can provide dry clothes and bed linen to increase heat loss by conduction. For the evaluation, you must evaluate the client's fever is effectively managed with antipyretic, and client have maintained adequate hydration. That's all about hypothermia. Now we are going to hypothermia. Nah, ini kebalikannya hyperthermia ya. Hypothermia. Okay, hypothermia is the core body temperature below the normal limit. We know that the normal limit is between 36 to 38 degrees Celsius. Yeah, so hypothermia is the core body temperature below the normal limit. This is a condition in which an individual experiences or is at risk of experience a decrease in body temperature below 35.5 degrees Celsius, rectally caused by an increase in external factor. Yeah, heat production below heat loss. Yeah, and then a life-threatening emergency. The pathophysiology and etiology of hypothermia induced. There are three kinds of hypothermia induced. There are induced, accidental, or as bodies core temperature falls. For the induced hypothermia, deliberately lowering body temperature. It's reduced body's need for oxygen. And for the accidental hypothermia, it's a result of immersion in cold water or exposure. And as body core temperature falls, body tries to conserve core temperature and at the expense of extremities. Now we will check one by one. The first is about induced hypothermia. Induced hypothermia is reduced metabolic rate. Yeah, happen when reduced metabolic rate and lower circular demand for oxygen in tissues, and is used to reduce neurological damage, usually from a post-cardiac arrest lesson. For the accidental hypothermia, this happens when exposure to cold environment, that immersion in cold water and lack of adequate clothing, shelter, heat, and associated with the near drowning episode. The other cause is ingestion of alcohol, drugs, and trauma or overwhelming sepsis. And the hypothermia in infants, they have a poor thermal stability, and radiation and convection loss and thermal conduction happen. It's marked by the difference between core and skin temp, and a cool environment make a peripheral vasodilatation. And hypothermia in infants happen in newborn, risk of newborn, less risk from children, less risk from adolescent and adults. Ya, jadi di sini infant itu lebih punya risiko tinggi, sangat tinggi dibandingkan dari anak-anak di atasnya atau dari usia remaja atau orang tua. The older adult is more sensitive than middle adults, decrease thermoregulatory control, and they have loss of subcutaneous fat. Jadi karena dia sudah older adults itu lansia ya. Jadi ketika sudah tua, tentunya kulitnya itu have thin skin ya. Jadi lemak-lemaknya itu sudah berkurang gitu ya. Jadi kulitnya sangat tipis sehingga beresiko tinggi untuk terpapar udara luar dan mendapatkan hipotermia. Gitu ya. And factor environmental factor and then penyakit atau CNS disorder. Penyakit saraf ya, central nervous system disorder. And the next is about frostbite ya. Frostbite is injury of skin resulting from freezing. If limited, skin subcutaneous tissue involved. Increase and pressure make deeper structural freeze. Skin freeze when temperature drops below 0 degrees Celsius. This is most common on exposed or peripheral area. Frostbite is a tissue freeze, like ice crystal form, and small vessel vasoconstrict, then vasodilate. And if the continued exposure will be vasoconstriction. And superficial frostbite, you will feel numbness, itching, prickling, or cyanotic red than white. And the condition of deeper frostbite, there will happen paralysis and stiffness. In typing of tissue, skin white or yellow, lose elasticity, burning pain, edema, ada blisternya, atau necrosis atau ada gangren ya. And in the rapid thawing may significantly decrease tissue necrosis. For the clinical manifestation in mild hypothermia, between 32 until 35 degrees Celsius, it's there sign and symptom. The patient will feel fatigue, fatigue, slurred speech, poor consideration of calmness, confusion or poor judgment, inappropriate behavior, shivering, and tachycardia and tachypnea. For the moderate hypothermia, will happen have depressed the mental status, no shivering, depressed respiration, slow pulse or irregular heartbeat, low blood pressure, pale or cyanotic color, hallucination may become and coma. For the profound hypothermia, less than 28 degrees Celsius will there are sign and symptom such as absence of respiratory and pulse, ventricular fibrillation, dilated unresponsive pupil, or coma. And for the severe hypothermia, it will hemodialysis or peritoneal dialysis, colonic irrigation to increase core body temperature. This is collaboration for the severe hypothermia. And social service refer if the assess parents' ability to meet care needs and financial constraints or homelessness. The nursing process assessment, you must do assessments such as low body temperature below normal range, and you feel cool skin of the patient, cyanotic nail bed, low capillary refill, low than kurang dari 2 menit, kembali kurang dari 2 detik gitu ya. Hypertension, pallor, pillow erection, shivering, and tachycardia. And for the nursing diagnosis is that yang bisa ditegakkan gitu ya, imbalance body temperature or hypothermia. For the planning is prevention ya. thermoregulation, neonate, and vital sign. This is you can check in the nursing outcome, yeah. And for the implementation, yeah, to help client, you can the first is you can assess the risk factor, and you can monitor body temperature and the environment. Recommend limiting traveling if the temperature is very cold. Recommend using warm socks, sweater, gloves, hat, yeah, and explain to the family members that newborns and parents are more prone to evaporation. And you can also assess the for adequate circulation in the extremities or peripheral pulse. And for children and the elderly during intraoperative, or if bleeding doesn't occur, you can increase operating room temperature before operation. Cover with a warm blanket when you arrive in the operating room. Keep your head covered. Teach early sign of hypothermia and explain the need to drink about 8 to 10 glass every day. Eat small portion of bread and drink warm water. Yeah, this is the implementation. Oke, ini udah tadi ya. This is for the older adult. Sudah tadi ya. Okay, for the evaluation, you must evaluate exhibit no pillow erection or shivering. There are no pillow erection or shivering in your patient, and maintain core temperature within normal range. Report thermal comfort. Describe adaptive measure. Minimize fluctuation in body temperatures, and report early sign and symptoms. Okay. That's all about nursing care with the hypothermia. Patient with hypothermia. Now we are going to give a cold compress or ice sack. This is cold compress is a giving cold compress to patient in need by using an ice bucket filled with piece of ice. Yeah. The purpose of cold compress is lower body temperature, reduce pain, and reduce bleeding. If you have a lower body temperature such as hypothermia, or you feel a pain, you feel kamu lagi apa ya, misalnya lagi jatuh perdarahan gitu ya, kamu bisa menggunakan kompres dingin ya untuk menghentikan perdarahan atau mengurangi nyeri. And apa ya, alat yang the tools preparation of the cold compress, kamu membutuhkan, you must need neck ice sack, ya. This is sack, ice sack with a neck, and cover according to the shape of there is ice in place water in the sink, or you can add salt treat. And the work procedure is you must do preparation before, and you must prepare the environmental and the patient. The implementation of the cold compress first is you must communicate with your patient. You must wash your hand, and then you must give preparation to the ice bottle. You must prepare a piece of ice filled with 1 spoon of salt, then put it in a basin or water, and add 2 to 3 pieces of ice. Bleed air and check for the leaks, then put on the gloves. Fashion and implement the preparation and put the ice bottle on the neck. You must note that ice bottle should not press direct contact with the patient body. Temperature, you must observe the temperature, the ice is melting or not, and don't put the ice bottle upside down if it fits. It's look cold. The action is stopped. Pay attention to the condition of the skin. Is there any irritation or not? If there is no ice bottle, pass it with a plastic bag. Okay. Next is giving a warm compress. Warm compress is giving a warm feeling to the body using warm water on the part of the body that needs it. The purpose is regulating body temperature balance and streamlining blood circulation, reduce pain, and give a sense of comfort. The tools preparation is 3 small cloths, bowl filled with warm liquid, and the towel. The work procedure is through preparation, informal preparation, and patient preparation. The implementation, you can communicate and washing your hand, bring the tool close at the patient, remove the patient cloth if necessary. Wet a cold cloth, then place it on the forehead, armpit, and the other foot. Do it repeatedly, and after you finish, clean up the tools and wash your hand. Don't forget to wash your hand. Okay, that's all about the giving warm compress. I think it's saya sudah memberikan tugas kemarin ya untuk ini. Saya kira itu. I think that's all for the thermoregulation concept. If you have a question, you can ask to me in our group. Yeah, thank you for your attention. See you in the next meeting. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.